welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Live Podcast. Here we engage in tough talks and meaningful conversations. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We're a podcast that brings the community to you every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like and follow our page. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a show. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Dun, 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 dun. Somehow that's become like my theme music, and I be jamming to it sometimes. But good evening, and welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Counselors. I am your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chozen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, and coming back again. I do truly hope that you have been enjoying this month's theme, Attitude of Gratitude. Man, those first two have come out with some heavy hitting and things of that sort. They've been sharing their life and their story. And you have to have an attitude of gratitude, because even though it did seem rough, even though it was bad feeling, they made it through. And guess what, friends? So can you. Oh, friends, I hope that you are, if you're near the snow, that you are surviving it. Hopefully it continues to clear. I personally don't want any more, but I get that Mother Nature or whatever has to do what it has to do, okay? But tonight, we are inside. Hopefully you're warm wherever you are, and you are excited as we talk about knowing your limits. Friends, in having an attitude of gratitude, we have to know when it's time for us to tap out, when it's time for us to get some help from somebody else, and just when we've had enough. There's some times that I've been around people and I'm like, you know what? I people enough today. I need to just sit myself down and put on Do Not Disturb, enjoy me some movies or whatever it is that I want to do. And it's really important for us to know that, because if we keep on pushing ourselves, when we know that we're tired, when we know that we need a minute, we're going to blow up on somebody. And that attitude of gratitude is going to be an attitude, period, just an attitude. And we don't want that to happen. So tonight we're going to talk about knowing your limits. I'm not going to belabor it any longer. So I have the amazing Rachel Wilson. She's going to share with us about knowing your limits. And friends, we want to know our limits so that we are not overwhelming ourselves. So help me welcome the amazing Rachel Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I'm super excited.
As you should be. We have a good time over here.
Yes, I'm super excited. So, hey friends, hey folks, my name is Rachel Wilson Merger. We'll add that on. Working on changing my name. Yes. So I am a wife. I'm a mom. I am a belly birthing, lactating doula, perinatal mental health therapist, and just all the things that just bring me to the table. And that's what I'm really excited to talk about tonight. You just want me to go straight into it, or?
Well, normally over here, I'm teasing. So over here, we do like a welcome. We thank you for introducing yourself and letting us know who you are. I do want to start with our quote of the day. We always have a quote of the day and we share. So our quote of the day is, sometimes when you lose your way, you find yourself. Mandy Hill. Again, sometimes when you lose your way, you find yourself. What are your thoughts on that quote?
Ooh. I mean, I have definitely, been through some transitions in my life. It took for some things to shatter. It took for some things to just, for me to be right here where I am. And I'm not going to get super preachy, but I do believe that God had to break some people away from me, had to tear some things up, had to say, listen, I'm telling you some stuff and you're not listening. So I need to just, I need to get with you in other ways. So, and there was times where I was like, wow, beat. just like, can I do this? All while like going to school for social work, right? I'm supposed to be able to like tell my like self-motivate and get myself through it. I'm helping other folks get through things, but when you in it, sometimes it's just like, this is real. This is wait, I'm supposed to tell myself what? Some coping skills? Like, what I'm supposed to do? But I am truly grateful for like those experiences, whether heartbreak, career-wise, some things that I thought I was going to do. I just knew I was going to be just destined for this path, and nope, I had to be rerouted. And that, like most folks, you get mad, you get sad, you get frustrated, you want to cuss and fuss, but like I needed those things. I needed those things. I look back like 10 years ago, 9th grade me, 12th grade me, and looking at where I'm at right now, I needed that. I didn't appreciate it in the moment, but I needed those experiences to get me right where I am right now.
I love it. I love it. Because friends, sometimes we really do have to lose our way. And it's not the greatest feeling because we think that we know what we're doing, only to be lost in a sauce. But then we find our way and was like, okay, now I know what to do. And the hope is that with that attitude of gratitude, we then become strategic to not get ourselves in any more dead ends. To really map out a plan, because there's a lot of things, like you said, 9th grade me, 10th grade me had some different plans. I didn't know life will look how it does today, but I'm grateful. Truly grateful. Truly grateful. So friends, I have prepared some questions to guide tonight's topic. But as always, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them down below. If you have any comments, be sure to engage in the conversation that is to be had. So tonight's theme is knowing your limits, and the month's theme is attitude of gratitude. And in knowing your limits, let's first talk about you being a social worker, right? What made you want to become a social worker?
Yeah, I mean, so just my life, how I grew up. I am the victim. I am the daughter of a murder victim. So my father was killed when I was 6, and unfortunately, a lot of our young folks, especially in Philadelphia or in cities, experience that, right? And I think that we kind of just like, all right, whatever, we might wear a RIP shirt or whatever for a few months, and it's unfortunately is normalized. So that, and then, dealing with, watching relationships in my family that again were normalized, but it's like, no, this actually don't even really seem right. This actually is domestic violence. Actually, it's not just, oh, like this person was, boop boop bopping whoever. Like, no, this is domestic violence. Like, and it's serious and it should be taken seriously. But again, because it's just a thing, right? And then we take that into growing up, and being in a school district where you kind of were like passed along because you weren't a behavioral issue, but in reality, probably needed an IEP. I don't know. But because of the stereotype that comes along with that, no, you're not going to test my kid. Like, well, why not? Maybe I needed some extra help. Maybe, things didn't have to be as hard as they were. And then ultimately high school, I went to Maspam High School. But a lot of the things I experienced there, again, it was like, all right, well, it's just another day. Maspam is in Kensington, literally walking distance from K&A. And I saw a lot of things that I would hate for my children to see. And just like taking all of those things in and being like, none of this is okay. None of this is okay. And that's kind of what drove me. I took a leap of faith, applying for college, literally a leap of faith. And that's why I say, like, things when it's meant, like, things just kind of like, just do it. I was just always like, let's do it and let's just see what happens. Let's just do it. Let's just go to college and see what happens. Right. And I get there and I'm like, I'm here. So, and I'm successful. So with that, I need to give it back, because so many of my peers were not successful. I get on Facebook and I'm like, dang, literally today, I was just telling my husband, I Facebook was like, hey, you might know this person. I got excited. I said, yeah, I know that person. I get on their page and it's like, such and such died. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so many of the people that I grew up with, so many of the folks that I went to high school with, maybe they graduated from high school, maybe they didn't, but it's just like, out of the few folks, I think I counted maybe 5 of us out of my entire graduating class that went on to higher education. And I'm like, I have to try to bring somebody else with me. How do I do that? Social work. How do I get the job done? And granted, my role in social work has evolved. Initially I was like, you know what, going to work in a residential setting, and but things change, you know what, and just kind of like rolling with it. But essentially it's just like how, like, the way that I grew up, and just, if I'm not successful by mistake, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not successful by mistake, and it's up to me. And I truly believe like God wants me to bring folks with me. So that's why I'm in social work. That's essentially it, to bring some folks with me. I know that as much as I want to, everybody can't go. As sad as that is, and it's like, come on, but everyone can't go. But if I could bring a few folks, then I check that off the list. But it's tough. So when we start talking about knowing your limits, there are days where I walk away and I'm just like, I'm going to get in bed now. Because it just becomes a lot sometimes. But I'm a human being, so it's hard to not absorb. It's hard to not absorb other folks' stuff, but I try my best to leave it where it is, and I'll pick it up first thing Monday morning, or the next day.
Yeah, that's big. And it's so amazing to come through what you've come through and want to, like, how can I help somebody else? Because life, as we were talking before, life be life, and it can be overwhelming. And you can see people doing things or giving up on things because they don't have the capacity, or they feel like they can't do it. They have self-doubt, fears, a gazillion different, things. And they're not really excuses. Sometimes there really are roadblocks that they can't quite get through. And I was talking to some coworkers the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'm about to start this. It was like, you make me feel bad because you're always doing something. Everybody doesn't have that, juice to keep going. But even in that, I got to know my limits of, all right, Jennifer, you don't too much, sit down somewhere, But there are some of us that continue to aspire for more, continue to want to help somebody else, continue to want to pull somebody on. And sometimes they're taking their hand to come on. And sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And also know when our limits are pushing people, because sometimes they want to be bothered, sometimes they don't. The same for us, but hoping that if I could do a little bit today, I'll try again some more tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's a process like none other.
Yes. It takes time to break a pattern. Like, even just talking about, working out, I'm like, it takes time to build myself up. So, and the same thing with, changing behaviors, whatever that behavior may be. Yeah.
And I say that all the time about the changing behaviors, because they'll say, you can stop doing this. One, I didn't start overnight. It took some time for me to build up to whatever it is that I'm doing. So you want me to change it, but this is my norm to do it. It's kind of hard, or it seems kind of off for me to change something. And I get that I need to do it because it's going to benefit me. But sometimes I feel like it's already benefiting me. So it's like, in a social work and therapy world, we talk about coping skills. So what is it that can help you stay calm, help you stay, good, where you can get through things and not blow up on people and not have that attitude, but have that gratitude with it because it balances you out. You have to find healthy skills because you're just going from Dick, Joe to Bob to Sal to Heather. It's a lot going on. We got to figure something out because a lot of different things can happen in those transactions too, right? You going from job to job to job to job to job. You messing up your retirement plan a little bit if you're not really saving money. So it's a lot of different things. So we have to find ways to embrace what is happening and figure out that master plan of how to get out of that cycle, because cycles are real too.
Absolutely. Finding that middle balance. Yeah, for sure.
And it's different for everybody. And you might feel like you're in the middle. I like to use analogy sometimes. So we'll take this remote, right? So like this might be the middle right here, but sometimes you might be over here and it's balanced and it's working. So don't be upset if you're not, in that middle of that grounded piece. You might be all the way over here. It's tipping and surging and things of that sort, but it's a balance for you and it has you doing what you need to do. So friends, find the balance that works for you, that's healthy for you. Because if you keep on drinking all the time, that can't be healthy for you. It's going to mess up some things if we ain't doing it, We keep going to the casino and gambling. That ain't helping everything. So we want to make sure that we're being mindful of whatever it is that we're choosing to do and finding our balance.
Yeah, and just to kind of jump, piggyback on that, I think also we forget the maintenance part, right? So I always say, like, people have their, New Year's resolution. They're going to get in the gym. They're going to get fine, right? And you start to drop that weight. You start to feel good. And then you're like, man, you start pulling away from the gym a little bit and a little bit. Next thing you know, you're not in the gym at all. And you picking up the weight that you worked so hard, to knock off. The same thing with behaviors. It's like, all right, like, okay, I'm not smoking no more. I'm not drinking no more. I'm good, but we're not revisiting what led to that point. Like, so we just dropped therapy because we're good now. And that's cool. Listen, and that's great. And it's okay to scale back a little bit, but when we just drop it like a hot potato, then it's like we really just kind of open the floodgates and you lose your support folks. And it becomes a little bit of cycle, and it's and it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
But how do we jump out?
How do we jump out? And the knowing your limits means that it is hard. I feel I can't do it on my own, so I need to reach out to somebody else. And you first meet a social worker in your school setting, the counselor, right? Most students, I feel like I didn't really meet my counselor until it was time for me to go to college or graduate high school, rather, because everybody doesn't go to college. And she was giving out resources and things. And I felt it was almost a disservice. My high school counselor, I felt like I may have talked to the counselor in school prior to that, maybe, but they didn't really resonate to like be in my memory bank. But for sure, I remember that counselor when it was time to like pick out a school to go to. Like, oh yeah, here, amazing book to like give you a guide of if you go into this field, how much you can make, what different things you could do. But there's so many other things you could do. And when I did my internship, I was at a middle school. So I know counselors were in school before high school, but again, high school is when I really remember the counselor. But when I did my internship at the middle school, being able to be of support to the students as they were trying to work out conflicts. There was a lot of conflict management going on. He stole my pencil. She stole my boyfriend. Again, young, we all went through it when we was in, childhood school and things of that sort. And that's the first time that we meet the person. And the hope is that when we do meet them, because they're just trying to help us to work out problems, work out conflicts, help us to respond in healthy ways due to different situations, that we embrace that. But too often we feel like we don't have anybody that we could talk to. I was talking to somebody the other day. It was like, yeah, I feel like I don't have anybody to talk to. And a counselor is somebody that can, listen to you and let you talk. Social worker, help you figure out problem solving, things of that sort. But it's so sad, and disheartening to know that, we went into a field essentially of people that really don't really want to talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, so there's that stigma that, negative things, right, come out of talking to those people.
Yes.
Right. Social workers, they want to come snatch up your kids. And where we gonna put all these kids at that we snatching up? Is the response that I sometimes would have had, where they going? But obviously in situations where that needs to happen, right? There is a place and space for that. But social work is like so broad, Social work is so broad. It's like you can be a this and you can be a that. You can be a therapist, or you can be in the schools, or it's super duper broad. You can be working with folks with disabilities, but I will say, like, when it comes to the school setting, like, that's awesome that you had those resources. I feel like I'm not gonna say the person's name because I'm grateful. But I remember just going there and be like, where the waivers at? Let me help myself, because you have to, but I'm just here and help myself. So whatever it is that I need, because my needs weren't being taken care of. And again, when I look back and I start counting folks out of my graduating class who went on to higher education, it wasn't that many of us. So I think the focus was not on how can I help you in this moment and help you become a better person, or let's look to your future. I think I can't even quite say what I can't quite say what the goal was. I can't. Like, sad. I can't quite say. And I think that what it really boiled down to, I mean, some of it's a cultural thing, right? What it boiled down to, what you doing in there?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? I do remember that the counselor's door had like this maybe 4 or 5 inch window that went all the way down. So I can see you in there. I can see everything else, but I can see you in there. I mean, I don't know what, that's not really, I don't want to say HIPAA, but like, because it is school, but it just wasn't a setting that made you feel comfortable. I was coming here and talk to you. The 15 minutes I may be talking to you, 20 people that knocked on your door.
So then it felt like 5 minutes, maybe 2. Yeah.
And then a fight just broke out and we need you. So it's tough.
It is.
It's tough. So with that being said, if my experiences with a therapist or a social worker or a counselor was, this person that's just, you're there, but I'm not really sure what you're doing, then as I grow, then you're not necessarily somebody, or that title, somebody that shares the same title as you. That's not necessarily the person that I want to go to for help, if that makes sense.
Wow. And hindsight is 2020, because now as an adult, I did enjoy being a child. I miss it sometimes because it had some perks, okay? Adulthood has perks too. But as an adult, I think I understand the terminology of burnout now, right? And it ties in great with knowing your limits, because sometimes people do take jobs just for the check, right? People do take jobs because they feel like that's what they wanted to do, or whatever the reason. And sadly, they'll get into the position and then find out, maybe I shouldn't have did this. But what do I do next? Because even adults could be lost in the sauce too, And I am saddened by your experience, because that was a disservice to you and many, many other students, of just knowing what other options there were beyond high school. Because just even though you don't have to pursue higher education, we do know a lot of jobs require you to have something, sometimes beyond that GED, that high school diploma. But there's some trade schools that you could go to, and it's really important for them to share the various different options that are available. But even that, it goes to like adulthood too, like HR. How much is HR really supporting you? Because they're like a counselor in a sense to kind of help guide your things. However, HR really looks out for the company, not you. So that's, a whole little thing too. But really being able to have those, but they also offer EAP, Employee Assistance Program. I'll always say most underutilized service is a free service because you pay for it with your benefits. Call somebody, talk to somebody when you need to. But burnout is real, and I think sometimes people stay in situations with people, places, and things, thinking that that's the great place for them to be, but don't realize their limits have exceeded the capacity that they have to be with that person, place, or thing. And for your counselor, I feel like almost like maybe she should have retired. Maybe she was waiting for retirement. It was a her, I'm not sure, or a guy and things that sort.
Yep.
Because sometimes, again, people get in those positions and they shouldn't be in those positions. And we've all seen somebody in a position that shouldn't be in a position because they don't have the bedside manner or the heart to really do what it is that they're supposed to be a professional to do. And that could stink.
Yeah. But try to be a little bit different. And I try not to forget those experiences. I try not to forget those experiences so that, I can I can recall what it is to be on the other side of that chair, on the other side of that desk. And how can I approach you in a way that you're like, you know what? I want to tell her some stuff. I got some stuff on my mind and I want to tell her some stuff.
Yeah.
And that's truly what I love. Like, being a young Black girl, professional, whatever, it can be tough, especially when you're trying to knock down the doors. But and I realize when I walk in with my braids and like, this is what you get, and this is not for some folks, but there are some folks that I can appreciate that. When I walk into the office, when I walk into the doctor's office, I look like you, sis. You know what I mean? And that, like, regardless of what letters I had behind my name, you know what I mean? Still remembering that experience of what it is to be XYZ,
Yes. You said something powerful there, because a lot of times people get things and they forget where they came from because they just, the ABCDEFG behind their name. You're grateful for where you are, but we want to be able to still reach somebody else. And again, we may pull a bad apple a couple times, but we will get a good apple sometimes. So not forgetting where we came from is really, really important. And speaks to, again, why you even went into social work, because you were trying to help somebody else. Who can I help? And we joke about it, in conversation all the time of how, like some people we are helping, some people ain't paying us no mind. But the hope is that if they keep coming, that they're picking up something. And if they're not applying it today, the day that they really need it, they're like, you know what? Rachel did tell me I should process this and think about this before I go off, because I really want to bust the windows out of his car, but maybe I could just take a couple of deep breaths. Maybe I could call somebody. Maybe I could do whatever it is that, you talk about with the people to then calm down and things. But sometimes that connection is a tad bit slower than we want it to be. But yeah, that's the joys of social work and helping other people.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Why? Because life can be so overwhelming. Why do you think it's important for people to know their limits of, okay, I can do this, I can't do that, or I can do this, but I shouldn't do this, all in that bunch? Why do you think it's important for someone to be aware?
Yes. I mean, wow, like we all, it's like this imaginary list. At least I have this imaginary list of just things. And it could be something like, I saw it on TikTok, right? And I'm like, yeah, let's add that to the list. But when it really boils down, like for me, especially as, I'm not super duper old in marriage life, but it's just like an order of things, right? That I kind of have to make sure that while I want to do all of these things, right? I want to be at every birth, I want to support every client. I want to, do every volunteer opportunity. If I don't have enough energy at the end of the day to get on the floor and play with my child, to pour into my home, to pour into my marriage, then we have gone way too far. Like, And don't get me wrong, there be some days I'm like, man, like I set myself up.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
set myself
Yeah.
up. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't even feel like taking a shower. I might, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not healthy. It's not physically healthy. It's not mentally healthy. It's not good for my family. You know what I mean? So like, and I don't want it to be. I never want it to be. I was too tired, and then my family slipped away, or something that I should have caught with one of my children, or you know what I mean. Like I, so I really have, especially in this season, I have to be really careful that I protect my peace too. Um, I hate to say it, but like it's real, right? Because I look at a lot of like, memes, they be like, Gen Z, like they quick to be like, nah, I'm good, like I'm cool, like I ain't standing this job, you know what I mean? But it's so important, like to be able to protect your peace. Yeah, coin gonna come, dollar sign gonna come, like if it's for me, it's gonna be for me, it's gonna fall into my lap. um but I have to be able to protect my peace. If I'm so stressed out that now I'm anxious, now I'm the one sitting here trying to take deep breaths.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have to be able to care for myself, and I have to be able to care for my family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was I always this way? No. I was burning the candle on both ends, right?
Yeah.
But there was certain seasons in my life where that's kind of how it had to go, especially when I'm in grad school, I'm working, I'm doing this, like I'm trying to like build to where I am right now. So for that season, um that's kind of what it was. um but I also learned that I cannot pour into anyone until I pour into myself. And a lot of folks like to call it selfish. Mm-mm. No, it's not selfish. I have to be able, especially like with my family and things like that, I call it healthy boundaries. My mom, I love my mama. She'll call and want a video call and the baby and everything. I'll text her, hey, you cool? Once I get confirmation, I'll call my mama back, because I have to be like, if I'm not in that space where, and if I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I just want to take a 15-20 minute nap before the baby wake up, I have to set that boundary. I have to make sure I have the energy to pour back into me so that I can then pour out. And it took a lot for me to be able to identify the things that were going on with inside of me internally, even as a therapist, right? Like, yeah, I'm supposed to know these things. Like, what does anxiety look like? What does an anxiety tag look like? Like, why does my stomach hurt? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sick. I don't have the flu. Like, but why do I feel ill? And it's like, because you're doing all these things. You gotta slow down. You know what I mean? You can't even hold a 15-minute conversation, with your husband without yawning and falling asleep. No, we gotta pour that all the way back, And as I was talking about like that order, my career has to fall under all of that. Because it's kind of hard for me to, sit down and have a conversation with someone about, their relationships when I don't even have the energy to pour into my own. It's kind of hard for me to talk about somebody else's anxiety, right? When I'm, all over the place and I can't even focus on what I need to do. And I think we forget that sometimes in the helping profession. It's like you see the cardiologist and you're looking at him like, how you want to tell me about my heart? Like, you know, when I'm looking at you and you look like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing either, you know? And I try to normalize that with my clients. If I need to reschedule, I don't do it often, but if I need to do that because I don't have the energy that you deserve right now, like you're paying to see me. And if I don't have that energy that you deserve, it's not fair to you and it's not fair to me. Now, I'm not saying every time you get a little cramp or a little stomach ache, you got to cancel your whole caseload. No. But you got to know you. You got to know you. Not too long ago, I had COVID and I was like, listen, even though like I was past the, quarantine period, I'm like, I still don't feel well. I'm not going to do this. Think we all understand COVID, and if you can't understand that, then you might, I can try to direct you, to a place in space. But just being okay to say, mm-mm. And I come from a family where, especially the woman, yeah, I got it, I can do it, yeah. Like, folks know not to call me, because if it don't make sense, like Rachel's going to tell you. And again, it's not selfish. We have to get away from selfish. You only think about yourself. Like, no, I have to make sure I'm well before I can pour into other folks.
So true. I do a lot of icebreakers at work for our staff meetings, and in the last one I talked about feelings, because when I open up the supervision with my staff, we do the sanctuary. How are you feeling today? What are your goals for today? Who can support you with that? And I start with how you're feeling, because if you're having a bad day, that's going to let me know, one, how supervision going to go, how the rest of your day going to go, and then I want to find out what your goals are, how I can support you to help you get through those things. But I also harp on the feelings, because if you're having a bad day, it's okay to call out. It's better for you to call out than to come in and be irritated, agitated, because life is happening and you're trying to, survive life. But when you get to work, everybody don't always know how to leave it at the door, because sometimes it spills in to the work day. Somebody will say something, a phone call will come in, it'll get you a little flustered and things of that sort. So it's really, really important for us to know what our feelings are. And I was sharing, because if you might not want to handle phone calls today. You might not want to interact with other people. Take a day. That's what your PTO is for. Somebody was like, does it matter if I take my sick vacation personal? I don't care why you take your time. It's your time to use. Take it if you need it, because you have to, again, be able to rejuvenate yourself before you go out to others, because you'll think you're putting your best foot forward and your face is saying something else. Your body language is saying this. And you think you're doing a great job and they're receiving it wrong. You don't want that to happen. So you have to be able to take those pauses as needed. Because if not, it's not going to be a pretty picture.
Nope.
It's not going to be a pretty picture. So if you need a moment, take that pause. We have to be able to set those healthy boundaries. With the snowstorming thing, it was like, should we come in? Should we not come in? I can't tell you to come in. I can't tell you to stay home. Whatever you do, I'm going to support you. You do what's going to be best for you. Because what happens in these jobs is this: something happened to you and you out, they're going to figure it out. God forbid you pass. We all going to pass eventually. They're going to hire somebody else. But you have to be able to take care of you so that you can go in another day. I said, furthermore, if y'all going to be slipping and sliding coming in, you break something, that's going to be more damage than good. Maybe you should stay home, because then y'all know you're going to come back when there's no clear and things of that sort. Selfish thinking just a little bit. But I'm also still looking at the long run too. Who wants to be up with a broken leg? Who wants to be up with a twisted ankle? When you get older, your bones don't heal like they used to heal. So really just helping people to really know when they have to say no. Well, go home. Let me know how you feel, and we figure it out. That's the precedence. You want somebody that cares about that, and it's hard because in the social work field, I find that you become a little bit more lenient in your leading, because you have that heart of, you want to help everybody, and in the for-profit world, it's like, tough luck, we hiring somebody else. So you also I even have to find a balance in that too, of like that tough love, but also that love that understands. In the social work world, I work with CORE some years, and I also say this to the staff that I work with now. We're so quick to make sure everybody else is meeting their deliverables. Everybody else is, completing that form and submitting it. In core and DHS world, we're making sure these children went to their medical appointment. We're making sure they went to the dentist. We're making sure they got the eyes checked. And I asked my supervision, when's the last time you got your eyes checked?
Mm-hmm.
When the last time you saw the physical? Did you get some blood work? Did you get your flu shot? And it feel like you're getting in a business, but you are a little bit, because I want you to be just that, on top of yours as you are for that family that you're getting paid to do. Because you blood, sweat, and tears for all that, you got a tooth about to fall out. What? We backwards. So again, we got to take care of ourselves as well. And that's the process, because we think that, oh, I'll get to it. Or we don't think that our issues are as important. And before you know it, it's getting too bad. They want to talk about taking off a limb. Wait a minute. Have we been on top of it? Finding out when 4th and 5th stages, have we been on top of it? We want to be able to go to the doctor. We want to be able to get those checkups. And I know we avoid it because we don't want to hear. I remember when I was in the process of buying my house, I avoided the doctor like a plague because I felt like my pressure was going to be crazy. And she was like, no, those are the times that you want to come. Nope, because you wasn't putting me on nothing. I knew I was stressed, irritated, agitated, because a lot of things wasn't happening how fast I thought it was going to happen. I've avoided very well, people told me, but it was a process for me. And now it's funny because I'll be going to the doctor. She's like, oh, it's perfect. It's great. Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day. But again, I still got to go to find out what it is, to find out what prescription I need. I can't keep on just popping something thinking, oh, it's going to get better. If you ever watched My Big Fake Greek Wedding, they just put Windex on everything. Not work for everything. Sometimes you need something a little stronger. Sometimes you need nothing at all. Sometimes you just need some rest. So friends, I do encourage you to take care of you.
Yes. And I'm right with you. But like for me, it took a while. Now I'm like everything. I'm going for everything. I know how much it costs. I know how much if you gotta pay for it, out of pocket. I'm only, good RX. Let me get you a coupon. And it's again, I think that that cultural piece of it too. I got it. I'm good. But as we talk about it on these platforms, it's like, all right, hopefully we encourage somebody to just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and get your blood work done. What's your A1C look like? And hopefully, it'll mental health, physical health, like it all runs together. We can't talk about therapy. We can't talk about feelings without also, talking about when the last time you've been to a doctor. And what's the barrier? What does that look like? We can talk about depression, but what your labs look like? What's your vitamin D look like? Yes, definitely, all falling. Oh, you need me to sit on the phone with you while you make this call for the appointment? Like, how can I help you?
Yes. But now, and speaking of that, in our community, when we go to the doctor sometimes, I'm told that they don't always believe us sometimes because the pain tolerance is so much higher. And it's funny because I remember a time that I didn't go to the doctor until like I really couldn't take it anymore. And when I went, she was like, well, did you try this? Did you try that? Ma'am, I tried everything. That's why I'm here. And she's like going through all these different things. And I guess she got to do it. But after a while, I'm like, ma'am, I'm telling you, it's bad. And the part of really taking the trust of the person. And I get some people do abuse the system and things of that sort. But there are some of us that really go and really need the help. But get 57 million questions or being sent home ill-treated or mistreated. And then we have another problem. And in that, you became a doula. What was the process for you to become that? Yes. And what is a doula?
Yes. Okay. So we'll talk about the process that I, utilized to become a doula. And it really goes back to what you said initially about going into the doctor's office, walking in and not getting your needs met. So when I moved to Delaware, I wanted to establish care. I'm in this new state. I'm not getting ready to keep running back and forth to Pennsylvania. I'm here. I need to be seen here.
Yeah.
And my first experience, I was written off. At this time, I was like having some unexplained like muscle spasms. I was written off. I shared with the provider kind of like, what I had been prescribed previously. And at the time, I was working in a setting where, you can't be like falling out. I was working in like one of those kind of settings because it can really just be unsafe. I was working in a prison, right? You fall out in a prison is like,
not the place to fall out.
That ain't the place to fall out, right? So, and I really was looking for some help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, they're gonna start sending me home. I'm a liability, And I was, and she tried to say I was med seeking. She didn't try to say, she did say I was med seeking. She told me that I should go back to Philadelphia and go back to whatever provider that was prescribing me medication and continue to get my medication from there. Even when I explained to her, I said, listen, I know what addictive behavior looks like. Like, this is what I do for a living. You know what I mean? And nope, still. That was just horrible. And when I walk into places, I'm not like, hey, yeah, I'm Rachel Wilson. I got this degree, that degree, this certification. Like, no, I walk in with my braids and I'm just like, this is who I am. And this is what's going on. And I was just written off in a way where it's like, dang, I really walked in optimistic, hoping to get some help and get some support and some direction, as to what was going on with my body. And you told me that I was med seeking, wrote it in my chart, which folks, check your chart. I'm telling you, get the portal wherever you get medical treatment, get the portal. Just about every big healthcare provider has a portal. Sign up for that portal. After each visit, read what they had to say about you. Read what they had to say about you. I'm not saying to dispute diabetes, like you're either diabetic or you're not. Like, you know what I mean? But read that chart. Read what those folks had to say about you. On 2 different occasions, I had to say, no, you made that up. Somebody made it up. I had, an experience where I'm like, they put like alcohol use daily. I'm like, I'm coming in here, because I'm having problems with my pregnancy. And somebody wrote that in my chart. First of all, somebody made that up. And 2, nobody asked me that. I don't know what copy and paste system you got going on. I don't know who I look like. I don't know who I sound like, but you're going to remove it right now. Actually, I'll wait on the phone while you addendum it. Let me know when I should refresh the page. You have to watch your charts. You have to. And it's sad. Like, I should expect that whatever I tell you, you're going to document it appropriately. You please check that portal. Check what your providers are saying about you. And if it's something that you don't agree with or is not accurate, have it fixed in addendum. Don't wait. So that was that experience, right? And then I was having some issues with my like reproductive system. I'm not going to get into all the stuff, but again, me trying to establish services out here. So OB, she told me something, right? And I was like, I'm not a doctor, but that don't sound right. Right? But I could have just said, oh, well, she has MD behind her name. She said it. She examined it. It must be true. But it just didn't sit right with me. So let me try it one more time. Again, establishing care, brand new PCP that one of my coworkers recommended. She said, well, let's send you for some tests. Let's send you for an ultrasound. Let's just see. Mind you, I'm still dealing with these horrible symptoms. These things haven't stopped. So now I'm at stop number 2 for these same symptoms. Got the test. She confirmed what was going on. I said, okay, what now? Well, let's just wait and see. Wait and see what? I've been dealing with this for almost a year now. What are we waiting and seeing? What is it that we would like to wait to see? Again, so I'm like, you know what she diagnosed me with, I'm like, I remember this growing up. I remember this word. And unfortunately, in the Black and brown communities, we don't never talk about what's really going on with us, right? Like it's like some secret, right? But I'm like, I remember this word. I said, let me ask my aunt about this because I feel like I might have heard her say she had this too. And sure enough, she's like, oh, you do? Like, this was my experience. And I remember her having a horrible experience. I was young, but I remember her having a horrible experience from this thing. And once I started talking to her, she's like, yeah, like, so what are they going to do? I'm like, they said I should just wait and I should see. My aunt's like, no, I done been there, done that. Like, we're not, like, you really need to, see who's next on the list. All right, now we're at number 3. Third doctor. I feel like they should pay me back my copays. Somebody owes me some money.
They owe you some money, sis.
Somebody owes me some money sometime. All right, third doctor. How many medical doctors does it take to accurately diagnose the patient and fix the problem? All right, third doctor. She's like, yeah, you got this, you got that. All right, so this is what we need to do. And 3 weeks I was having surgery. I'm like, dang. I had to go to number 1, tell her, she told me some okie doke, and I wasn't cool with that. Go to number 2. She said, oh yeah, let me do some further tests. Okay, this is the diagnosis, but I think you're good. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, like, whatever. And then it took number 3, and this is my girl right here. Like, she is a Black doctor. Like, this is sis. Like, clean me right on up. You know what I mean? Like, and I truly feel like if I didn't push till I finally got a provider was like, yeah, this is your problem right here. I'm looking at it. It took her 30 seconds to look at my ultrasound. And I feel like my daughter wouldn't be here. Because there was something that it was a barrier to me conceiving, to me holding a pregnancy. Like, I could get pregnant, but my body wouldn't hold the pregnancy. And I had to push and push and push. But what happens when, folks go in there and they just like, oh, the doctor said X, Y, and Z. They're the doctor. They must know. That's it. And I would have lived with those symptoms. And when it was fixable, we live in modern medicine. It was quick, in and out. I was like home by noon. She did surgery and I was home by noon, and it's sad. It's sad that I've been labeled, a drug seeker. I've like I had to go through all of those things to finally find a provider that was like, I'm looking at your problem right here. Let's schedule it. Let's get you on the schedule. And that was my push to become a doula. Like, if I can take my mental health piece, the social work piece, and also blend it into maternal health, my experiences, like, let's do this. Like, let's do it. And I will say that, pregnancy, postpartum, dealing with fertility, like, it's like, had I not been in it, I don't think I will fully like understand what it is to be like deep in it. You know, it's really hard. And then again, dealing with the cultural aspect of, you know, you can't even hardly open up your mouth to say your experience sometimes, because it's like, oh well, something, I had a miscarriage, such and such down the street had him. You're young, you be all right. Like, what in the validation? You know what I mean? Like, so just being in this role where I can't be your doula and your therapist at the same time, but being in this role where it's like I can be in multiple seats at once. You know, I can, you know, and in my doula role, you want me to go to the doctor's appointment with you? You know, let's write some stuff down. Doctor started talking all fast, like I'm sitting here, you know, no, excuse me. Let me write this down. How do you spell it? Like, no, don't give me it's ABCD. No, how do you spell it? I don't want an acronym.
Yes.
Google ABCD, because then I might get 5 other diagnoses behind it, and I'm at home going crazy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Spell it out. And folks, your doctor tells you something, repeat it back and say, what I hear you saying is, I have yada, 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 and how to fix it is yada, 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 or this is my medication. This is how I should take it. You know what I mean? And let them say, yes, that's exactly what I said. Or no, you completely got it messed up. You know what I mean? Like, these folks work for you. You know what I mean? When you walk into the doctor's office, you walked in and they are at work. You know, you went to their job. They didn't come to your job. You went to their job. So as long as you need to, I need you to explain it again. So what you're saying is, let me make sure I understand. And don't leave until you fully understand it. Don't leave until you fully, let me see, pull up an image. Let me look at it again. You know what I mean? Because yes, these folks, doctors, and I much respect to our, you know, medical professionals, but there are some folks that the bedside manner is horrible. And if you don't have the patience to have a conversation with me, then maybe I need to have a conversation with someone else. And don't be afraid to do that. So my role into doula world, like I said, the things that are for me, they just come, they come to me. So having that experience, right? And then, you know, I start looking at what are the support options out there? I came across, you know, doula work, and I was getting ready to go ahead and, you know, pay for the, you know, the courses to become a doula. And then something appeared on my Instagram. Black Mothers in Power is an organization out here in Delaware that, you know, they're working towards eliminating disparities in the Black community. And they were like, listen, the children in Delaware babies in Delaware are dying at a higher rate than any other state. And we desperately need some Black folks to help advocate for our moms and our families. And it was like, listen, if you can put in the work and the time and you really want to help our families, we will cover the cost. And it was such a blessing. It was such a blessing. By then, I was able to, it just opened doors to different agencies, different resources. Like, yeah, obviously, you know, it was free. That was great. But it just really, you know, I was able to introduce myself to a lot of different folks so that I can then give it back. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to, you know, get somebody resources when you don't know the resources. So that's how I, you know, I got my training. I had to, like any other profession, like how we had to do internships and practicum, same sort of thing, take on folks. And then I said, okay, how can I take this a step further? And went through postpartum support international and, got my training as a perinatal mental health therapist. So I said, boom. Now I got the letters behind my name that says I can step in the room. I mean, I already knew I can step in the room, but, from certain agencies and things like that, they won't let you through the door if you don't have whatever letters. So now it's like, boom, I'm in, I'm here, I'm ready to help my folks. You can't turn me away at the door. I'm here. And just really being able to support folks, whether it be in person, virtually, even if I'm just giving you resources beforehand. I keep about 10 screenshots in my phone at any given time. You need diapers? Let me tell you where to go, and that's where, and that's how I know this is where I'm supposed to be. It's where I'm supposed to be.
I love it. When you're trying to do something, you come across something free. I mean, God, what you want to set me free? But that's the dopeness of, again, knowing your limits and like saying, one, speaking up for yourself, because it's so very important. Because sometimes we'll get discouraged. And friends, I don't want you to be discouraged, because I went to my doctor the other week and they were saying, if your questions go beyond this, we charge a fee. And that's fine, because that's why we have insurance. You want to make sure you for sure know, because when they get the writing, it look like chicken scratch. I can't tell you how many physicals I've seen or had to process for children, and I don't know what that doctor put down there, because they have a degree in chicken scratch. So you want to be able to make sure that you for sure know what it is that you're doing. Also, not being afraid to go to somebody else. That's like if you go to a restaurant and you don't like it, you don't go there no more. It's the same for a doctor and professional. You are paying them. They are your worker. Their work is to make sure you're okay, so that you don't have to keep on going, that you don't have to endure pain for almost a year. Friends, don't do that. Don't let the doctor do that. And even like mechanics and things, when I go, I was like, I want you to treat me as if I was your child. I was your family member. I want you to look out for me as if I'm that loved one. And like, we get a connection and things of that sort. And I'd be like, God, if they ain't the right one, don't let them come my way. I had a situation with a car, and the person that came, it was just a smooth process. The place I went, it was a smooth process. And you don't want it to always have hiccups if it doesn't have to have hiccups, okay? So friends, be able to speak up for yourself. Be able to know if this is wrong, if this doesn't feel right. Because, again, you know your body the best to know, like, something is off. I had a lot of energy yesterday, but now it was not too good. Or I was up, but now I feel. You can get that evaluated to find out what's going on. And the blessing of that is that now you had a baby and you were having trouble where you couldn't hold the baby. So congratulations to that as well. Of going through that experience and all that, that entailed. But friends, reach out when you don't know. And again, doulas are available in every city. It's a quiet community, I feel like, sometimes, because it's not as popular as it could be. However, it is a powerful community. So you want to be able to connect. How can someone connect with a doula? I know you're in Delaware, but are you in other states? Do you travel? How does that work?
Yeah, so in Delaware, there is like a platform. There's different, agencies, like I mentioned, Black Mothers in Power. But, I think to safely put it, especially as a Black and brown person, I would encourage you to look for agencies that support perinatal mental health. You know what I mean? I think those are great starting places. Because they're going to know who's the doula, if they got good reviews, folks talk too. If you ain't good, people going to be like, I don't know if you want to hire her. And I tell folks that all the time, especially in Delaware, like the streets are talking. But yeah, you can always look there. Now, I think that's number one where I would say to look. If you have no idea where to start, look for those agencies that, support Black and brown folks, mental health postpartum. Social media, most doulas do have social media platforms, but you got to be mindful, shop around, shop around. There are some bigger agencies if that's something that you would like. I know like Dona is an agency, Dona. They have an entire listing of folks. But it depends on really what you're looking for. There are a lot of black and brown directories as well. If that's specifically what you're looking for. So if you just go on Google for your state. And if you can't find somebody, listen, reach out to me and I will try my absolute best to direct you, appropriately. Now, a lot of hospitals are now starting to hire doulas. I'm not opposed to it if that is your thing. Or if you're someone who maybe, you are really, really close to delivering and probably don't have, the opportunity to get a doula, or maybe, there might be a financial barrier. I know most doulas, they don't want to meet you in your last trimester. Like, they want to get to know you. They want to do some interventions. They want to try some things. Like, they want to, we don't want to get to the marathon. That's some doulas, and they have the right to do that. So some folks go with the hospital doula. And if that's what needs to happen, cool. But what I will say is the hospital doula works for the hospital. They don't work for you. They don't work for you. At the end of the day, whatever hospital that signed their paycheck, and guess what? When it comes to my paycheck, I need to make sure I get paid in 2 more weeks. So I might do what the hospital wants me to do. You know what I mean? Like, if the doctor is like, convince your patient that we need to do X, Y, and Z, I don't want to go against the doctor who might tell my supervisor, who might, I don't know, like, that's my livelihood, that's my paycheck. Whereas you privately get a doula, you walk in with a doula, that's your doula. She worked for you. So it hits a little bit different. Again, if you need a hospital doula, if that's the last resort, do it. But if that's not a route you have to go, I don't really advise it.
Good to know. Good to know. And the doula, in a nutshell, what does the doula do for the mama to be, family to be?
Yeah. So, quickly, I do want to kind of talk about like midwifery and doula, if I can, real quick, because I think folks get confused. So midwifery, right? Back in, civil rights era, before that, black and brown women, right? We weren't really allowed in hospitals, right? So as a community, we had to birth our own babies, right? So there was that person, there was that grandma right down the next town or down the street. Like, she was the one who birthed everyone, who came in, made sure your delivery was safe. She just knew things from experience and, boy to rags, whatever. So that transitioned into, in America, we start to modernize, and this person don't have a medical degree. They barely got a high school diploma. Wait, you mean to tell me they got a middle school education? Oh, wait, they don't even have that? No, you can't be a midwife. So they started to put different, rules and regulations around that. Now, midwifery today, most of those folks have nursing background or some sort of medical background. All right, so there's that. So I feel like from that perspective, old mama, right, midwifery has turned into doula work. So a doula does not necessarily have to have a medical background. If you cool, if you do, that's cool, but they don't have to have a medical background, because it's emotional support. It's, spiritual support. It's holding space. It is, advocating. It's not saying, I think you should do. It's, the mom said she don't want that. The mom says she wants this. It's holding that space. It's kind of hard sometimes to advocate for yourself when you're going through probably the most pain you've ever experienced in your life. It's hard to be like, no, I want X, Y, and Z in the middle of you just trying to breathe. So that's what that is. Now, granted, every doula is different. There's some postpartum doulas. There's some just educational resource doulas. There's birth doulas. There's some folks that just do virtual only, especially during COVID when no one was allowed in the hospital anyway, so we kind of didn't have a choice. So each doula is different. There are some doulas, and I think I'm gonna hire me one, where after birth, they'll just come in overnight and bring the baby to you if you want to nurse, wash the bottle, sanitize them, kind of take your overnight shift, right? So that you can, going back to being able to pour into you, if you have nothing to pour out, then there's going to be this imbalance. So just kind of having that support, whatever support looks like, whatever that looks like, it looks different for everybody. But that's a conversation that you and that person, will have, hopefully several conversations before your labor and delivery. So it's like we practiced. Now we at the game. We know what we're doing. We know the plan. Let's go. So overall, just like emotional support, spiritual support, but doulas do not catch babies. Now this is by accident, but there shouldn't be any mechanical maneuvering, etc. Like we leave that for the medical folks. Like that's not our place. Everybody has a position, and that's the position of a doula.
Unless you're in the back seat of the car, what was that? Best man delivering a baby?
Yeah, not unless it just happens. And you have to be careful with that though.
Yeah,
because you don't want to end up, getting yourself in trouble. In a lot of states, it's like against the law to like have a baby at home. I mean, yeah. So you got, I don't know if you've seen the news, but like you just gotta be careful.
Gotcha. So friends, learn the law. You can't have, everybody can't have a baby in the house depending where you're from. Again, if the baby comes before you get there, that's a different situation. But making sure it boils down sometimes to just be a safety feature as well. They're just trying to make sure they lay eyes on, babies as they come into the world, and just find what works for you is all I'm saying, friends.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you haven't shared that you feel like you would want us to know before you leave us today?
Just reiterating, knowing when you need help. And the reality of it is that we all need help. We all need help. It may not be today, and it may not be tomorrow, but we all need help. And you have to define what that help looks like. It's a little bit hard. It's hard for me to help someone, even in therapy, as a doula, as a friend, as a wife. I can try to guess. Usually, sometimes not right. Or maybe I didn't understand it or pick it up, in the way that you intended it. So one, we have to know when to ask for help. And two, being able to describe as best you can. Because sometimes I don't know how you can help me. I don't know. I'll let you know if I think of something. But as best you can, I need X, Y, and Z. And if the folks around you can't do X, Y, and Z, then you owe it to you to find someone who can, and not just settle and be okay with the okie doke, right? Because it's not fair to you. You deserve all the things you need. And that's basically it. We deserve to feel good mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. We deserve to have positive birthing experiences. We deserve to not, feel like, am I going to die? Am I going to walk out of here with my baby? Is my baby going to leave and I'm going to be stuck? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to go home and something bad going to happen? Like, we deserve to just feel well and be treated well.
Friends, we got to advocate for ourselves. We have to know our limits, what we can do, but reach out to somebody that can help us for the things we can't do. So good. Thank you for joining us, Rachel.
Yes. And when it comes to birth work and when it comes to mental health, I know that sometimes it can be hard financially, but closed mouths don't get fed, y'all. There are so many agencies that are like willing to help.
Yeah.
That get grants, funding. Come on in, but closed mouths don't get fed. So sometimes you just, unfortunately, you got to open up your mouth and say what you need.
And that's a good point because they get funding for it, but if they don't serve the people, sometimes they lose that funding. So if you do need it, you never know. Just go ahead and ask. They can support you and assist you. Because somebody has needed it before.
Yes. Like you are not the first one.
You are not the first one, and you won't be the last. So as you give that, it shows the data of like, hey, we got to keep doing this. This is needed in our community. How can we continue to help those that need this service? Pretty cool. Again, I thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a good time here on the Jen Cares podcast.
I did. Thank you so much from this platform. I know it's been a while, but I feel like we met. I was just a little itty bitty therapist, and now I'm just moving on up.
I'm so very proud of you. And again, it can be hard in the field, like you said. Sometimes, like I just need to lay down. I'm grateful that you are still pushing through and finding your balance and what works for you as you continue to pull somebody else up. Nobody can take that away from you. You're continuing to help somebody else, continue to try to be a bright light to them. They'll embrace it sometimes, may not, but guess what? You did your part. And the hope is that they'll say, you know what? Somebody told me, they might not even remember your name, but somebody told me that I could just ask. So I'm just going to ask that they'll be encouraged to do it in the time that they need that support and assistance as they're trying to find their limits, know their limits, brace their limits, and set their limits to keep on going in this thing called life.
Yes.
So I thank you again. May you have a great evening.
Yes, thank you guys. And I truly meant what I said. If you guys need a resource, I can be reached by email, Rachel the Doula at Gmail or Instagram. That's RayChelThethE. Doula, DOULA. And that's Instagram and Gmail. I truly do believe if I can't, we'll find it together. We'll figure it out. Yes. We will figure it out. And thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Thank you. Oh, friends, I do hope that you enjoyed as we had the amazing Rachel to share about knowing your limits, the amazing part of helping somebody else in this thing called life, because it does get hard sometimes. But friends, don't give up. Reach out, ask somebody for help. If you need some support, I'm gonna connect you with somebody. If I can't do it, somebody else can do it. And sometimes I can do it, but I can't do it because I don't have the capacity. I'm gonna find you somebody that can help you. Okay, friends? Oh, don't forget our quote of the day. Sometimes when you lose your way, you find yourself, by Mandy Hilligan. Sometimes when you lose your way, you find yourself. So don't be discouraged in those moments because you find out who you really are. I can't tell you how many dead ends I found, and I found out either you're going to survive this or it's going to survive you. And guess what? I came out on top most of the time, but I've also learned some lessons. But though you may lose it, you do find your way back. Be sure to join us next week as we will close out our Attitude of Gratitude with Cheryl Pullins for Growth Mindset. That's right. Next week, we will close out our January series. Friends, can you believe that January is almost over? Like, where did the month go? I hope that when it does leave, it takes the snow. See what I did there? Rhyming. Yep, take the snow. Friends, I do also want to just let you know about Blended Fab, our new podcast that is exclusively on YouTube. Our third episode dropped last week, so that means our fourth episode drops this week. It has been really, really good. Blending Fab, blending families, attitudes, and beliefs. And we talk all things relationships. And I know my clip says coming soon, but guess what? I'm going to let you listen to it to see what it is that we're doing over on YouTube with Blending Fab. Hey Chosen friends, I hope you're having an amazing day. Just wanted to share about a new service we are bringing. It is called Blending Fab, the podcast, blending families, attitudes, and beliefs. And I know often people say a blended family is when one person comes with someone else and one of them had children and we're blending it together. What if I told you, actually I'm going to tell you, we believe that blending starts with the first person that came together with the other. How you were raised, if you were raised in a single parent household or by your grandmom in a foster care home, both parents, one parent, no parents. That is a blend like none other. So blending your families, your attitudes, and beliefs is a process. And we have a new podcast coming soon that talks about that process and more. We talk about all things relationships and we have a good time. So be sure to tune in as Blending Fab Podcast is coming soon. Hey, Hey friends, you heard it. Go ahead and check it out. It has been amazing. Just as we have amazing guests on Monday nights to share their stories. Over there, they are sharing some stories. Okay, they get on a hot seat. I make it a little warm for them, a little warm, because it's just a conversation we having. But it's good conversations, and it's some conversations that we aren't having. And that's how it was birthed. I feel like sometimes we give up on things, and if we would have communicated, we would have found out, hey, it was my fault, or I could do this better, or it was really them and we got to go. But the key is having a good having good communication, so that we can find out what it is and things of that sort. So it's really, really good over there and being real with ourselves, talking to the man in the mirror, because that's how change can start. That's what Michael said. All right. So friends, I love you all for real. Until next time, have an amazing week. I love you. Next time.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chozencounselors.com. That's Chozen with a Z, to stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode as we specialize in bringing the community to you.